On behalf of Mayor Jim Strickland and Director Joanne Massey, we welcome you to the City of Memphis Office of Business Diversity and Compliance and our Entrepreneurs webinar series. I'm Taylor Tagg, I'm the Senior Business Services Coordinator for OBDC, and today we're fortunate to have Christine Essary with us, who's going to share with us some key points about resilience. And for those of you who are new to the Office of Business Diversity and Compliance, our office is located at the Entrepreneurs Network Center, which is located at 480 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, which is right at the corner of MLK and Danny Thomas Boulevard, which my friend and colleague Roby Williams likes to say is right at the corner of opportunity and hope. We're open from 8:30 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we would prefer a call ahead or an appointment in advance if you'd like to meet with one of our business advisors due to COVID-19. We do offer consulting and counseling on all aspects of your business, which includes marketing, strategy, and business planning. You can call us at 636-9300 or email us at bdcinfo@memphistn.gov. And all that information is written out in the chat if you need to refer back to it. And again, all of our services are free of charge. Our partners, the Tennessee Small Business Development Center, the Black Business Association, Memphis Area Minority Contractors Association, and Operation Hope also have representatives available at the Entrepreneurs Network Center and are ready to assist you. OBDC also has business certification services that operate out of the Entrepreneurs Network Center, which is great to have if you plan on working in any capacity with the City of Memphis in the future. Again, get your business certified with us at the city. Again, it's another free service available. We have two other webinars this month, which may be of interest to you. On Tuesday, July 28th, we will have a financial planning webinar in Spanish for our Latino community, and that is from 4 to 6 p.m. And then also on Friday, July 31st at 10 a.m., we will have Shelley Bauer, who will be talking with us about integrity-based communications, which will be a great webinar. If you've ever heard Shelley speak, she is fantastic and dynamic, and we're glad that she'll be joining us on Friday the 31st. You can also register for these events at Eventbrite. Just pull up OBDC in the search line, and you'll find the registration links to those webinars. A recording of this webinar will be available to all who've registered at Eventbrite, so you can look for that in the next day or day or so. And as we begin, please stay on mute. Later in the hour, we'll have question and answer with Christine, and feel free to unmute yourself at that time. If questions come up during the presentation, you can utilize the chat feature, and we'll monitor those questions and ask Christine towards the end. So July is Mindset Month at OBDC, and I really can think of no better way to improve your mindset than to bring you our speaker today. Christine Essary is a friend and colleague, and she is the Employment and Strategic Development Manager at Transnetics, which is a biotech company here in Memphis. She has counseled many business owners and employees throughout her career, and we're happy to bring Christine's unique perspective today on resilience. She's had quite a journey with it throughout her lifetime, and I believe you will appreciate her perspective, and as well she'll give you a framework that you can use to build resilience as an owner in your business. So Christine, OBDC is so glad to have you here. The floor is yours. Please take it away.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Taylor, and I'm just delighted to be here with you, and thank you for the opportunity to share. Yes, I've had the privilege of working with many business owners over my 20-plus career, and I've worked across all industries, so not just the biotech industry, but I do enjoy the people that I get to serve with now at Transnetics. What I like to do is take you on a journey, and as you can see, we're on a winding path, and that's pretty indicative of where we are right now in our country and in our city. But what I'd like to do is talk about and share with you my own experiences and why resilience matters, what I've learned from other business owners, and also what we can do now. And of course, I'll close with some parting thoughts and hopefully even a challenge for you to consider if you're not already doing some of these things that I'm going to share with you. And I'll be open for questions and answers at the very end. And I'd love to share some resources with you and we can connect to continue our conversation. So let's get started. Why resilience matters. So I looked at the definition of resilience. There's a couple of different definitions. However, the capacity to recover quickly really stood out to me from adversities and challenges and difficulties. I think the word quickly is key there. Often people might talk about someone that they've known who is resilient to be tough-minded. I've been called a thing or two in my life, and that is one of them. But what I'd like to do is think about resilience much like a rubber band. If I were with you in person, I might actually hand you a rubber band and we might have a little bit of fun and an exercise, but we won't do that today. What I will talk about is the resilience of a rubber band. And so, of course, as you know, with any tool, there are some areas of the tool that are strong, and there are times that the tool can break down and become weak. But a rubber band is pretty resilient, and when you're stretching and forming the rubber band in different spaces, it over time can get stretched out but still be useful. So what I'd like to imagine is that in our lives we can be much like that rubber band and bounce back pretty quickly. Now, what is resilience and why does it matter? Well, I believe that resilience, it keeps us on track. Resilience can help us navigate through some of the really difficult times that we experience. And we can then, what I like to do is always look back as to why I'm doing what I'm doing and where I'm going. So often when we have setbacks, distractions, things that arise that we're not anticipating, it can throw us off a bit. But what I like to believe for me and for others whom I know that are also resilient as business owners and people is that they are able to easily get back on track. And often, and I say easily, okay, that's not a fair statement. Easily might be a stretch. But what we do is we have a plan and we can revert back to our plan, back to our priorities, and then get refocused on where we're going and what we're doing. In addition to keeping us on track, I also believe it is an incredible opportunity to help us grow. And what I mean by that is the opportunity of adversity and challenges allows us to stretch in ways we didn't know was probably possible, and also allows us to evolve. And like any human being on the planet, I would like to think that we're all evolving through our difficulties, through the excitements, the mountaintops and the valleys. But what I do know for me personally is that during the adversities and challenges that I faced, I've developed confidence in who I am, knowing who I am and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, but also building connections with people. I believe it is a human connection opportunity where we can join in with other people, where we're able to discuss some of the challenges and the problems that we're facing, and most importantly, consider solutions. I think that's the mindset that I typically go toward is, what can we do about it? Okay, now that we know what the problem or the issue is, or the challenge, what are we going to do about it? And then also what I found in my history of adversities and challenges, and I have a long list, and I'll share those, at least two of those with you in a moment, is I'm also able to find some of the competencies and identify the competencies that I may not have known existed before. I have found that my performance, my productivity, and my energy shifts to a place of excitement and motivation very often. I go through a season like we all do where you're focusing on what's actually happening, the reality of that, but the ability to shift quickly is another area that I believe resilience gives us a chance to grow. And I wanted to share something that I heard recently on a podcast, and it's a statement from a credit card company. I won't name it because I'm not endorsing this particular credit card company. But when I heard it and I was preparing to speak with you all today, it really resonated with me. Small business is a backbone of community. Small is essential, small is diverse, small is tireless, small is resilient. Yes, that was in the ad. And small often is making ends meet. Now, there's some other parts of the ad that I won't go into, but that was the crux of what I thought really was relevant to us today, that we are the backbone of community. If you are an entrepreneur, if you are a small business owner, you're thinking about starting a business, these things are all true. And I thank you for your thinking about offering a solution to someone. You're courageous, and I really appreciate people in my life that are willing to take risks and share an opportunity with someone where they can help. So now I'm going to take you on a journey, my journey actually, and I'm going to just pick two, again, out of a long list of adversities and challenges that I could share with you today. I thought two might be pretty appropriate to share. So I thought I'd start with a picture of me. Yes, that's me in the sky. I've had a wonderful opportunity to skydive with my family, my husband and my daughter. My daughter was early in college. My husband had already skydived before, and I had I don't know, fear, but I had an uncertainty of heights. So what better way than to jump out of a perfectly good plane, right? Okay, well, what does this have to do with resilience? Probably not much. But what I'd like to share with you is my mindset. And I think this is what's going to help you understand why I shared this experience in this picture of me high in the sky. And David, who is my instructor, it was a tandem flight, as you can see. He is a military veteran and had thousands of flights. And so it was a calculated risk jumping out of that plane. And after meeting David and having a little bit of training on the ground, I found the experience super enjoyable. And if you've not done it before and you are a risk taker, calculated risk taker, I'd encourage you to try it. So 2008, what happened in 2008? 2008 for me was a pretty defining year. That was a year that I experienced a serious illness. It was unexpected. It happened very quickly and rapidly, and I ended up in the hospital for many weeks. At the time, my daughter was a high school student, and my husband is amazing. He was able to functionally take over everything with regard to our home, my physical well-being, caring for me. And there were some things that I learned during that period. So after I came out of the hospital, I actually was in a wheelchair. So I lost the functions of being able to walk, feed myself, and do a lot of the things that we take for granted. And some of the things that I took away from that period, especially looking back on it, because it's now been well over a decade, it's been about 12 years. And what I remember during that time was really getting back to basics, understanding what was important, the most important things, most importantly people, the most important people in my life, what was critical for me to accomplish as I regained my strength and my mind, my memory. My memory was actually pretty shot during that time too, because it was a brain illness. And what I found is when I was able to focus and distill what exactly I needed to be doing on a day-to-day basis, which was making sure that I regained my strength through therapy and helpful medications during the time to get me through that period. But one of the things that Taylor invited me today also to talk about is mindset. And I believe that there was an inner strength that existed that allowed me to focus on an optimistic outlook. And I often use the word attitude. There was something that I read early on in my career. I was 18 years old. I read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It changed the way that I thought about people, relationships, and really helped determine how I would move forward as I grew in my career and as a person. And one of the things that Napoleon Hill talks about is mindset and a positive attitude. Again, sometimes you get eye rolls if you say something like that. But what I do know is that when you have a growth mindset, a positive outlook on what's possible, it will help you get through difficult times. And the last thing that was really important for me was a reality check. A reality check to recognize that I could not do it on my own, that I was in my early 30s. I was pretty determined and tough-minded and felt that I was capable of handling most anything, but at that moment, that was actually something that I wasn't prepared to handle. So the reality was is that I had to rely on other people. And I think that's a really important lesson for us, especially during this season and this period in 2020 for all of us, is that we recognize that we're not alone and that there are other people available to walk through the path with us. My next journey is this year. You'll see that it says 2020. And so it's super fresh. We're still in the midst of this challenge. All of us are. But I'm going to talk about my own personal journey in 2020 right now. So 2020 is a year that will not be forgotten for any of us, and it will be in the history books. And we will get to determine what we believe was the result of 2020 for us. And we're halfway through the year, so we have more time to process through that and make decisions and determinations of what we claim for 2020. In 2020, a significant life change occurred for me and my family. My husband worked at a company for 25 years and was laid off at the end of March. That was sudden. We did expect there were going to be some changes based on the project that he was working on, but we very much anticipated that he would continue employment. And in 2020, so that was the end of March, and about 2 weeks later, I was furloughed. That came as a pretty big surprise in terms of just personally. I've never been furloughed or laid off before. And with Rob just being laid off, there was some emotion around that, some insecurities of what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. But what I found out is that I was able to take the personal feelings of that and really look at the business and the business decision overall and recognize that these decisions are happening all over the world. People are being laid off, people are being furloughed, and many times this is what we can do to sustain our company. I am very thankful that I was able to come back to work just recently to work with a team and a company that I love and hold very dear. We work with researchers all over the world, and there's a mission about that it resonates with me and my own personal mission to serve others. And so a couple of things that I wanted to share with you with regard to that particular challenge for us, and we're still navigating through it, is perspective, really keeping perspective, understanding that in that moment, what feels like could be the worst thing possible that could ever happen actually isn't the worst thing possible that could ever happen. It's understanding that you can look backwards to see, look to the past for reminding yourself the really difficult times that you've gotten through, hard, difficult journeys and seasons, but also looking forward, looking for the future and saying what is possible. I found myself volunteering and serving others during that time because that's something that I believe is a human connection when other people are suffering and you can be a part of walking alongside them and sharing your time, energy, resources, and even money with them. There is a bonding and a growth opportunity for you there. So serving others is something that is really, for me personally, is important in my resilience. And also being intentional, recognizing that I can't be everything to everyone, and simplifying my priorities, really focusing on the most important people in my life. And I tend to gravitate toward people rather than obligations. Of course, responsibilities, we have families, we have children, we have loved ones that we care for, we have businesses that we support, jobs that we fulfill. But I believe people are the reason that we do that. I know that we don't only work for money, but we work for, most of us all find a purpose in what we're doing. So those are just a couple of the areas that I wanted to share with you as it relates to my journey. Now, I also think it's important to talk about my framework, and I'll just put that picture back up just because that's me on most days. So my framework, there's 4 key areas that I found for me personally that I've been able to be successful in being resilient, is my belief system, my confidence on who I am, and my faith is a very strong factor for me as it relates to my resilience. Also my perspective, being able to consider the worst case scenario, I actually moved through that process pretty quickly, but it's come with a lot of practice. My husband is a very realistic man, and some would say pessimistic, some would say glass half empty, but actually I wouldn't say that at all. I do believe that he brings a perspective and keeps me grounded because he sees the things that I don't see. I see the best in people. I see opportunity when there's problems. And so he helps keep me grounded, but perspective is very important. I can consider the what ifs, but I don't stay there. Again, I think my mindset of being solution oriented is something that served me well. Serving others, I've already mentioned that, but I think when you give it your time and your energy and your money and your resources to others, it is another matter of helping you bounce back and get on with the next thing, and caring about other people. And then of course being intentional. I've already mentioned that, but the consistency is key for me. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. But what I found is that when I'm consistent with my activities, with my planning, and I'll talk more, actually I'll just share with you some of the daily actions that I take, because maybe that would be useful for you. I'm sure many of you already do these things, but if you don't, you might consider it. I have quiet time in the early AM before anybody else rises, even often before the sun comes up. I just have some time in the early AM that I take for myself. And I also, what's very important for me on a daily basis is staying active. That might mean a walk, that might mean a run, it could mean a bicycle ride, strength training. All of those things are pretty important to me, and you'll just find what works for you, but staying active and mobile is really important. And what I know to be absolutely true for me is relationships. So checking in with people, touching base, asking them how they are doing and how they are, because right now we know in our current season of the year here in 2020 that things are not always easy. People are not doing well, and we want to check in on our fellow man and our friends to let them know that we're here, we see them, and we're available to them. And the last two things is drink your water. Water is super important. It actually helps me just be more clear-minded, and reading every day is a couple of the practices that I take every single day to ensure my mindset is strong and ready. So before I move into what I've learned, I love to read a recent quote that I've heard from a former St. Jude patient. And many of you probably already know about St. Jude, but if you don't, it's an amazing organization right here in Memphis, Tennessee, that serves children and families, specifically the children that are going through cancers and need different treatments. And so a former St. Jude patient who works now for the information technology team at St. Jude, his name is Miguel, and he was asked recently how he coped during his bone cancer treatment. And this is what he said: "There are things that are out of your control, like cancer, but something I could control was how I respond to it. It was my decision whether to be sad, angry, or even happy, and he chose happy." Now, can we always choose happy? Perhaps not. But what I think Miguel helps us understand there, but we do have a choice on how we respond. We don't have control over much. I've learned that certainly, but what we do have is an opportunity to respond. And so what I'd like to do now is share what I've learned from other business owners in my career, but also in the last few months and few weeks where I've been spending time with other business owners and asking them how they are, how COVID and the social unrest and injustices are impacting their business. And so what I know is that people are pretty amazing. People will surprise you, and you should let them. You should give them an opportunity to allow them to be generous, allow them to focus on others and seek to bring solutions and not just talk about problems. Some of the things that I've heard from business owners is, specifically, I've asked them And I've considered myself over the years what I've heard as far as bouncing back, what it actually takes to bounce back. And so that's what I'd like to share with you now. I asked them, how do you do it? How do you bounce back? And what I've heard time and time again, and even in recent weeks, is staying focused is key. Keeping the main thing the main thing. There's a lot of distraction, there's a lot of noise, but if you could stay focused on what you're actually doing and why you're doing it and who you're doing it for, you'll find an ability to bounce back a bit quicker. And also simplifying. It kind of goes back to kind of clearing the deck and focusing on what must happen next. As a business owner, you understand that. We all do it as entrepreneurs. And that's another area that my business owner and entrepreneur friends and colleagues have shared with me. And also being intentional. I've used that now several times, both personally, but they've also mentioned intentionality and consistency. And I did not add some of the words that were shared with me, but simply work. They just said, when in doubt, go to work. Show up, be early, plan, and all of those things. So just simply work. And then dealing with uncertainty. So we're all dealing with uncertainty in different ways. And what I have understood from the folks that I've spoken with and who I've served over the years is that we all handle uncertainty in a slightly different way. But these are some of the key takeaways that the business owners and entrepreneurs and solopreneurs have shared with me over the years is anticipate change. There will be change. There will be disruption. There will be a lot of noise and distractions, but you just have to anticipate that those things are going to occur, that these distractions will happen. Now, we're not talking, the things that we could not have anticipated was a virus pandemic that would affect us globally. We did not anticipate, well, some may have anticipated the financial crisis in 2007, 2008. Some may have saw some things coming as it relates to 9/11 with regard to the terrorism attack. But all of these things are now etched in our minds that we will not forget, and they are in history to let us know that change and distractions and disruptions and crisis will occur. Keep your perspective. Recognize that in the moment isn't the end all, but really stay open to being open-minded, to being nimble and quick, to be able to shift and change your business. What we were doing a year ago, well, goodness, even 6 months ago or 3 months ago, what we were doing then is not what we'll be doing in a year. It won't be what we're doing in 5 years. So just remember and remind yourself that it's okay. Change is okay. It can be hard, but it's okay, and it's necessary. We don't want to become irrelevant. In order to stay relevant, we have to be keeping our finger on the pulse of what our customers and clients need. And then the last thing that I heard is remember your why. There's a great book by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. If you've not read it, it's one of the resources that I would recommend. It's a great read, and I won't go into the entire book because we only have an hour today together. But remembering your why you started your business, why you were serving the customers and the clients that you serve. I think that's a very critical piece that we can often lose our focus and start thinking about the hustle and the daily drivers that we have to accomplish in order to keep our employees employed, keep a paycheck coming, but really truly remember your why. It sounds simple, it sounds perhaps even light, but it's true. So people are amazing. You can allow them to wow you. But what I'd like to do now is take us to an area that I believe is pretty critical, and I think you'll appreciate, is what now. As I spoke with business owners, and I've coached and had an opportunity to work alongside them for through acquisitions, I've had the privilege of being a part of 4 different startup companies. There's a lot of things that we could read or that we're told, but what I really do value and appreciate is when people have tried something and they've shared with me, okay, I tried that, it didn't work, but then maybe I tried it a year later and it worked. So what now? What can we do? And what are business owners doing right now? Well, what business owners are doing right now, what entrepreneurs and leaders and organizations are doing right now, is they're focusing on the present of the reality of where we are. They're looking to the past for examples of maybe opportunities that did not work then, what we can do now, what we might do going forward, but most especially we're looking toward the future. And as I've spoken with some of my business and leader colleagues and friends, what I've found is that people are a lot more optimistic than the media is portraying. Now, I'm not making light of where we are as in our economic state. I am personally impacted by a layoff and a furlough. Now I'm back to work, but our family has experienced some of those hardships. So when I say these things, please know that the optimism and looking toward the future isn't something that I'm suggesting that you just quickly just go there, because I know that we have to acknowledge where we are and how we're hurting and the pain that the people that we care about and love are also experiencing. But what's the one thing that business owners are doing now? Well, I mean, really, is there one thing? There's probably many things, but I did ask the question, what one thing are successful business owners doing? And one of the things that collectively 20+ years and in my conversations recently with business owners, and what I know is they're staying alert to the disruptions. And specifically, there are disruptions every single day. If you turn on the news, if you open up your Google browser or Yahoo or whatever your resource is that you look at, there are disruptions and distractions every single day. So they're staying alert to those, and we are all staying alert, but we're also recognizing that that's not going to be where we are continuing to be every single day. So in order for us to remain healthy in our mindset and be resilient, we must plan, prepare, and execute. So many of the business owners that I've spoken with lately have said it's been business as usual in some regards, because you still have to continue the day-to-day actions in order to make your business run. Now, we recognize, and I obviously recognize as well, that there are emotions and feelings and insecurities, and all of those things are still very alive and true. But what we know is that we can look back to our plan, look back to our strategic goals and the things that we're doing to serve our customers and our clients, when we can remain focused on those 3 areas of planning, preparing, and executing, we're going to find ourselves bouncing back a lot more quickly. And the last thing is be willing to learn something new. I learn something new every single day. I'm pretty confident. If not every single day, it's pretty close to that. And what I mean by being willing is being open to seeing that the changes are occurring, and be aware that changes in your business are going to be necessary. When you set your business, when you wrote your business plan, I'm certain that you didn't anticipate some of the challenges that you would experience as a business owner. But what I know to be true, and working with many hundreds of business owners and entrepreneurs and leaders over the years, is that we are going to learn something about our business, about our customer, about our clients, and we can actually pivot and adjust. Pivot's been used a lot right now, but we can be quick to adjust to serve that client and that customer. A couple of other areas that I know that you'd be interested in is, what is the difference maker? What's making a difference for business owners today during all of the changes and the distractions? Well, it's probably what you could imagine. This isn't anything new under the sun. I mean, this is not new information, but rituals, routines, and practices, those are the things that keep us in a mindset that we can move forward. And for many of those folks that I've been talking with lately is wake up early. Some of you may be night owls. I've been a night owl. I've actually been both, the early bird and a night owl, and I found effectiveness in both. But what I do know recently is the owners that I'm speaking with, the small business owners, and often that's 10 or less people, are making sure that they're getting up early and getting to work. And that means reviewing their day, preparing for their day. I personally prepare and plan I plan twice a year for, overall big things that are going on for our family, for my business. But I'll also plan monthly, weekly, and then I review every single day because things change, priorities change, something will come up, a customer or a client will need something that you'll need to be attentive to straight away. And so the constant review of your day, I mean, one business owner that I spoke with said, I have to have my coffee every single day. I turn on my music because that's what gets him in a good place. And he looks at what he has in front of him for the day. And you're able to be a lot more quick. You'll be more quickly able to adjust as the day goes on if you already have a plan on what you're going to do. Be consistent and keep working. That was shared with me over and over the years, is just be consistent, work your plan your work, work your plan. We all heard that. And then just keep at it. I didn't write down hustle or grind, but those words have been used. I've actually used those words myself, but keep going. And this is a very important area that we sometimes might miss, but I know successful business owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders do this, which is investing in your employees and your team. And listen, if you're a solopreneur and you don't have employees, that's okay. I'm still talking to you because that means investing in the people that you team up with, which are your vendors, your suppliers, the people that you count on to be able to serve your customers and your clients. So invest in your employees and your team, and that also means communicating, making sure that as often as possible that we can be transparent so that they know what's happening and when it's happening, and there's not any surprises. And I'll say not any surprises, there's not as many surprises, how about that? What I know is that during this time for all of us, for my family, for your employees, for the people that you count on to serve your customers and your clients, we're all experiencing a significant life change. We've not experienced a virus in quite this way, and especially as the media portrays, what's actually happening that we aren't as aware of. But as I talk to people, we are understanding that this is serious, but we also know that there's a future and there is an opportunity to continue life and to continue our businesses. So be sure to communicate with your customers, with your clients, and be as transparent with your employees and your team as possible. And that also goes for your family. Often we can want to kind of bottle up our work and keep it at work, but what I'm finding is a lot of us are working from home. I'm here in my dining room. For those of you that are of the more essential businesses that you can go into your workplace, I mean, we're an essential business as well, I suppose, but when you can go into the workplace, I mean, that's a whole nother host of concerns coming home to your family. So just keep in mind that we're all in this space together, but investing in those relationships are very important. Okay. Oh, so I have a little bit of gold for you. I like to call them gold, and they're nuggets. So as I've been specifically speaking with business owners lately, these are some of the comments that they've made to me, and I just wanted to share them with you. I thought you would find them pretty relevant. One business owner told me that one of the ways that they are staying relevant is to challenge their thinking about their business. And what he shared with me is not only challenge his thinking about his business, which he's been in business now for I think 6 years, and he's in an industry that was hit pretty hard with the COVID pandemic. And what he mentioned is that when you are challenging your thinking, you won't stay you won't stay where you are. You won't be stagnant. You'll keep looking for the best way to serve customers and your clients and one another. Another business owner mentioned to me that it was important to be willing to learn. Again, I've talked about learning before, learning something new, but also doing your research. This particular owner reached out to other markets and decided just to see what they were doing to stay up to date on what other people are doing that are in similar businesses, and found that some were very relatable to how he could serve his clients and customers here and domestically, nationally. But then there were some things that didn't apply, but he still noted them and made himself aware of what other people were doing, what's going on. And I think when you can connect and expand your network, and LinkedIn is a great option for that, or other business associations. If you've not already done that, that's a great resource. And obviously Taylor and the folks over at the Office of Business there at City of Memphis is an incredible resource. There are so many options for us that are available, but just sometimes not knowing where to go get it is the hardest part. And I think reaching out to Taylor and his team would be advantageous for you as a business owner. Also, several other business owners and entrepreneurs were mentioning to me that their business is actually growing. Now, their revenue overall is down in some cases, but what they're seeing is an uptick and more opportunities where people are needing to be served in a variety of ways, and these businesses are being nimble enough to be able to go in that direction to be able to serve them. Looking for the gaps, a really dear friend of mine and bright business owner, she mentioned to me that when you are looking for the gaps, even that your competitors can't fill, and you consider what you can do to be the solution for that customer or that client. And I think that's pretty unique in the sense that successful business owners do that. You know, often we can see things that other people are dropping the ball on, and we can then step in and offer a solution. There's actually a number of business owners that spoke to me directly about that. The last comment that was made by a business owner that I've shared with you today is this particular experience in 2020 has propelled his business 10 years ahead. And that was the first time I'd actually ever heard that in this particular, during this 2020 pandemic. But he said that the changes that he made were so quick and so drastic. He added some technology to his business, and actually the investment of that was a risk, because in March, he didn't actually know what was going to be happening in April or May or June or July for that matter. But he took the time, invested some energy and resources, money, into a product that was going to keep him in constant communication with his customers, give them updates, allowing them to give feedback on the services, and then also being able to reach people in a way through social media, through websites, that has really made a difference for his business, and he's seen incredible uptick in his business. So what I'd like to do now is go ahead and close out with some parting thoughts and hopefully a challenge, and answer any questions that you have. And I'll be sure to share any of the resources that I mentioned today, which I did not mention. I do have a resilience test link. If you like assessments and things to try to help you better understand your own resilience abilities and capacity, I'll actually share that resource with Taylor, and he can send the link to you, and you're welcome to take it. It actually generates it's a free test or free assessment, and it also generates a really nice report that kind of gives you some idea and understanding about resilience and the different core areas of resilience or elements of resilience. So in closing, there's a couple things that we can do today. So if you're not already doing these things, I would encourage you to consider trying them. And again, we can try things. If they don't work for us, we take it as an idea and we move on. But challenge your thinking about your business, how you're serving your customers, not only today, but what you will need to do to serve your customers in the next year, 5 years, 10 years. Dream big, start small. This I hear over and over, and you, I know, especially as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, understand that. We have big dreams, but don't let ego get in the way. It's okay to start small. A business owner friend actually is expanding her business, buying or going into a much larger space to serve her customers. But she started small, and I think that was the key to the agility as a business owner. And be a partner with your vendors and suppliers so that you're in constant communication. They know how you're doing, you know how they're doing. Those relationships are priceless. And also you need to know when you need to be concerned to look for, diversity of clients or diversity of suppliers and partners. So know your market, do your research, talk with other people, reach into your network, talk with other business owners, especially, again, LinkedIn is a great resource. You can talk with people all over the world and find out what they're doing. And I have found anytime I've reached out to a person, with a curiosity, and I know that there are probably a couple on today, when I've reached out with a curiosity to want to learn more they're very generous with their time. And so I encourage you to try that and do that if you haven't already. And listen and stay engaged with your customers. Again, it's something that just makes sense, and it's not rocket science, but that's how we stay relevant in serving our customers. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Taylor to make sure that we cover any questions that you might have in the chat.
Thanks, Christine. We appreciate that presentation. That was awesome. And again, we want to open it up to you to talk with Christine directly. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. You can also utilize the chat as well to ask your questions if you want to do it that way. We've got about 10 minutes, so we just we'll hang out here and have a conversation if you'd like. Feel free to unmute yourself and again, ask Christine some questions.
And of course, I just put my information on the screen as well. So if for some reason you're not able to chat because some of you are on the move as business owners, you're moving and getting to where you need to be to serve your customers and your clients. But that is my contact information. I'd love to continue the conversation.
I'll go ahead and start the questions as everyone's kind of getting ready. But I'll ask you the question, Christine. I know you've been in contact with a lot of business owners lately. What's kind of the overall theme, the one thing that they've struggled with the most, and then on the other end, what's the one thing that they're saying is maybe most optimistic for them as they're kind of navigating these challenging times?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I have asked. For what I've heard recently is the struggle is the unknown. But as one business owner mentioned to me, owning a business is all about uncertainty. But the unknown of the economy and where we're going, and really what we'll actually experience in 6 months from what's going on right now. We don't know what the long-lasting effects are, not only from a mental health perspective and people going into considerably isolation, but also, from a business standpoint, what are the long-lasting impacts of what's happening now on their business? They don't know. But on the flip side, what people are most optimistic about is the opportunities that are coming up, how they are adjusting to serve their customers and their clients, and what they're able to do differently now. And some of them are just doing the same thing they've always done, but maybe with a much more rapid pace and with a mindset of being flexible for what might be happening, right now with their particular industry.
Yeah, I go back to the Napoleon Hill quotes that adversity brings opportunity if you're willing to search for it. So yeah, I know that a lot of business owners are struggling right now with these times, but opportunity is around the corner. And again, feel free to unmute yourself and ask Christine a question directly.
Hey, Christine, this is Leonard. Question for you. Since you have talked to so many different business owners, I wonder if by chance you've had any discussions about how they're dealing with having remote workforces. So not all of us are on furlough, a lot of us are, but for those that have working teams from home, how have they been dealing with those remote team members as far as communication and following up on them and those types of things? If that's something that you've had some conversations about, I'd like to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, thanks so much. That's a great question. I have, not only from our own business, but also other leaders and owners, entrepreneurs.
She's wrapping up. It's her last thing.
So what I have learned is communication. And specifically what I mean by that is one-on-one conversations, being more intentional about connecting with each individual, seeing how they're doing, how their families are. Really, we're human beings and we want to be able to understand what other people are experiencing and how we can, I'm assuming most all of us, we can help. So one-on-one conversations scheduled so that the employee and the team member actually knows when they're going to have an opportunity to chat. Most of the teams that I've spoken with have actually set up a cadence of frequency that is not like they've had before, where actually teams might have met once a week or every 2 weeks. or once a month, whatever the case may be. They're meeting much more frequently. Some are meeting daily with what they call daily check-ins, and some are meeting multiple times a week just to make sure there's not any roadblocks. So as a leader, they're trying to stay ahead of that, to say, what are you experiencing? What are some of the challenges? And the other thing that I thought was pretty interesting is the communication in terms of social presence, what they're sharing on their website, what they're actually sharing in email communications with their customers, their employees, just really the transparency of that. And I think that that's here to stay. I don't know if that's going to go away. From a remote, like leading and managing remote, that might be its own webinar, but that's a really great question, Leonard. I think that there has to be a level of trust. I actually just spoke with someone 2 days ago about this. If you are concerned that your employee is going to watch Netflix all day, they might, but it's not likely that it'll continue. And there's a certain level of trust that you've done your due diligence to hire the person that fits best within your culture. And if you have a culture of responsibility and productivity and performance, then you're probably not going to experience that long term. Now, what I do want to mention is, it seems to me that we are all understanding, we are all understanding that we're in an odd place and an odd time. So we are in the early days of when this was happening in March 15th, if I recall, when everyone was sent home, at least at our facility. We're experiencing some uncertainties, some emotions. If we're single and don't have people living in our home, we're isolated in a way that we've never been isolated before. So I think remembering the human factor, that we're human beings and we have feelings and we have to process, really making sure that we don't forget that. I hope that helps, Leonard. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, a few more minutes for questions. Go right ahead, unmute yourself.
Hi, Christine. This is Patricia. There are some companies who were struggling before COVID-19, but now that the pandemic has hit, they're really in a predicament, and the challenge has been they didn't have time to work on their business because they were working so much in their business. So they haven't had time to really strategize to develop a plan for resiliency. What would you tell a business owner in that spot?
Yeah, wow. That's a great question, Patricia. And what I would encourage someone to do as a leadership coach and as a friend is recognize that it's okay that you've been working in your business. We all expect that. We still need to serve our customers, and we still need to be able to have the revenue coming in to sustain our businesses. And what I believe is probably a really good approach for someone, and they may not feel like they have this opportunity, but it's called time. And it's actually taking time and being intentional. Again, successful business owners will do this, and I'm certain that there's many that just have not found the opportunity to really focus and dedicate the time to do it. But to really go back and look at your business plan and how you're serving, and if there needs to be any changes. I mean, truly, in order to sustain this period, I believe we have to adjust and adapt to what's needed now. I hope that answers your question. I'd love to continue the conversation, but what I do know is that if someone, a business owner specifically, will be able to carve out that time to be able to focus on what's next for their business and sustaining through this difficult time.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We've got time for a question or two more. Feel free to go right ahead. Well, that may be all the questions, Christine, but
Hey, no worries.
I want to thank everyone for joining us here, and thank you, Christine. This is so enlightening and just a wonderful presentation, uplifting, actually inspiring. And so thank you for that. Thank you for taking the time and the research and the effort to help us out and give us some insights, not only from your personal journey, but also your business experience. And we just really appreciate you for willing to do that.
You're welcome. It was a lot of fun, and I have a special place in my heart for small businesses. It's near and dear to me, being privileged, having the privilege of being a part of multiple startup companies. There's something about it that it is encouraging, and it is motivating, and it is a sense of real deliverance in the community. And so I'm always glad to speak with anyone, leaders and business owners, large or small, it doesn't matter, but small businesses are definitely special.
Well, again, thanks so much for the insight, and stay tuned. We'll have a recording available to you if you want to watch us again. There are so many great nuggets of information in there that I may want to go back and take another listen to it. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks so much. Take care.